Welcome everyone, and welcome back to Forward Operating Base Lake Fork. I am Greg Hill. I'm your host of your fishing show today. Again, I am out here on beautiful Lake Fork. I just finished a great day fishing with some clients who wanted to learn about bed fishing here on Lake Fork, and we just had a great day. And I'll go back and I'm going to talk about the trip specifically, but let's just talk about what's going on like this last week. So look, we had some very differing weather patterns during this last week. We had some really good days to go fish spawn beds, and we had some challenging days to fish, high winds. We had a rain front rained on us. It rained all day on us one day. I mean, we were in probably, we fished for almost 9.5 hours, and I bet it rained for 7 of those hours. And it was really cold, it was really rainy. We were wet and cold, which is a really bad combination. It's not bad to be wet, it's not bad to be cold, but both together make it pretty tough. But we had a really good day of fishing, and I'll talk about that because it was a really fun day fishing with that on that trip with those people. But let's talk about the water levels. So here on Lake Fork, the water level is still continuing to basically just been falling a little bit. Even though we had a little rain, it still kind of came down. I'm noticing in the areas that some fish were before that there's less water there, and I'm noticing in the last 2 days fish bedding just a little bit deeper. I think we're probably the fish that had been spawning that were in that shallow water, and they're kind of setting those beds. They didn't want to really leave them, so they're basically locked into them. That water's falling, they're doing their best with it. So now I think there's some newer fish coming up on bed. These last 2 days I've seen a lot more new pairs come up on bed, more bucks and more pairs. So we're really still maybe like in the second wave of the spawn right now. I saw my very first set of basically fry out in a couple places, and I'm only seeing it 3 times now. And that first time happened about 3 days ago. So you can see about where you are in the spawn when you take about the process between making a bed and the courtship process and laying the eggs and fertilizing them and then graduating into the fry. So you can kind of see where different parts of the lake have been on. And if you start at the top of the lake, you kind of start up there and move down. But honestly, I think a lot of the lake spawned out at very close at the same time this year. A lot of these coves were basically the same temperature down south than they were up north. And maybe it's the rain, maybe it's that cold weather we had, whatever it was. But I'm still seeing bedding fish all over the lake, new pairs. I was in 3 different places today, 3 different parts of the lake, and they were a little bit older beds, they were fresh pairs, and they were new bucks. So it's still going on everywhere right now at the same time. So it's a really great fishing out here at Lake Fork. So anyway, hey, the way we talked about the weather, talked about kind of like the water conditions. I'm fishing some places where it's really, really clear, and I'm fishing some place where it's kind of stained water. I actually prefer the stained water a little bit than the clear water. The clear water is more challenging. The fish see you easier. It's harder to see them. I mean, it's easier to see them, but it's also easy for them to see you. So I don't mind picking the fish out a little bit and be able to get a little closer so my clients don't have to pitch as far. But that's the way it goes. It's the spawn. If you're going to come out and spawn fish here at Lake Fork, before you come out here and make the trip, I want you to think about what kind of gear you're using. Pitching and flipping gear. I've got a couple sets here. I use different things. There's different basically weights of the lures, and if I'm fishing in the grass versus out of the grass, things like that. I've had the first couple fish here just recently because I moved to some little clear water that I was pretty sure after a little bit they were seeing my braided line. So I had to transition over to a fluorocarbon line to get those bites. And matter of fact, we switched over, and it did. And here's how you tell. I prefer the braid myself if I can get away with it because it's just a great hook set. It's on a heavy rod. I'm getting a deep hook set, and basically I can pull them out of anything. But here's the way you kind of tell. Here's the way I kind of tell. If you're throwing in the beds, the fish is kind of moving out of the first couple times when you pitch in there. If you've got your braid kind of going into that nest, and you can see the line itself going in there and the lure sitting there. If you see the fish come up and kind of stop on the edge of the nest, and he's really hesitant about getting back into the nest, it's probably because he sees your line. So just consider the fact that you might want to have a rod that has the braid on it and another rod that has like 20-pound fluorocarbon on it, so you can kind of play those back. It could be the same exact lure that you're throwing, and you can kind of test that out. But I've seen that in a couple places since I moved to a little bit clearer water with less, less vegetation in it, and kind of throwing in like these reed type fish. Those guys are in clear water. They're right against the base of those reeds. They seem to be seeing my braid a little bit more. So just consider that when you're doing it. Another thing about rods and reels. So look, I think you need a really heavy rod to do this a lot of times. I see people pitching and flipping with, kind of light stuff. Now that's great, but man, if you get that, you really got to reel down and take up as much slack as you can before you get that hook set. You got to do it with a stiffer rod with braid, but look, on a stiffer rod with braid, I might need only this far to get a good hook set. If you got a rod that's got a little more bend to it in the fluorocarbon, it's a long cast, it's a lighter rod, you really got to tear into it. You got to get into the backbone of that rod to get that hook set, especially if you get a big fish. Look, you don't want to pass up. You don't spend your time, you come out to Lake Fork, you're hopefully trying to catch that big female bass that's out here. You finally find one, or you're flipping around the grass, and you end up having it pulled off. I had a client the other day, lost a pretty good fish because the hook set was, it wasn't great. It wasn't perfect. And, kind of already started to a high rod position and kind of pulling up here instead of getting down into it and giving a big pull. And, we lost a pretty good fish doing that. So, you got to practice and think about it. You may not get too many opportunities for a really big fish, and so you want to capitalize on every one of those that you can. So I'm going to go over the lure set that I've been using, because like today, the last 2 days, besides bedfish, I've been throwing chatterbaits and crankbaits off the back of the boat to cover that area back behind there. But I'm still right now pretty much fishing in the areas that I think the fish are spawning in. I'm either seeing them on bed, or I know they're up on bed because I've been there before and seen them. The water's got a little muddy. But I'm fishing bedded areas right now. And now today, I did fish a little bit of areas like the secondary points that were off those bedding areas, and we did see some big fish on my electronics, but we could not get them to bite today. So it's kind of, we worked them for a bit with some crankbaits. We worked with some chatterbaits. We had a couple big fish following a bait and following a bait and following a bait, but we could not get them to commit on it. So, that's what happens with big fish. When you get the electronics that I have, if you have that type of stuff, you're going to learn that you're almost catching a lot of fish a lot of time. Whenever you go fishing out there and you think you're not catching any fish, there's no fish in there, quite likely there's a lot of fish out there. There could be some big fish, and they're following your bait. They're just not committing those last couple inches on it. So I'm going to go over the lure set that I've got here, and then we'll kind of move on. So again, like a really big Senko thrown into the grassy areas looking for those females, you're going to want to work this fairly slow. Remember, these females the males will still chase stuff. The females, they're not chasing very much. They're in there to spawn. They got a bunch of eggs in them. They're still eating a little bit. If they might necessarily not pass up a big meal, but this is the kind of big meal that they'll bite on. Look, you can fish this wacky rig. You can fish it Texas rig. Now my bigger fish have come on Texas rigged, but we've been trying to work it right through the grass, and it comes through the grass a little better Texas rigged than it does with a wacky rig. So just consider that. Look, this is a Texas smoke, color. Just a smaller Senko, same thing. Wacky rig it or Texas style. I've caught them on both ways, but it's a purple and blackish color. Again, no surprise, but a creature bait, that I'm fishing. So I don't know if it's necessary, but I throw it a lot with the red hooks. So whether people ask me, I say, hey Greg, why are you throwing that? Are you throwing those gold hooks? I'm like, no, that's a red hook that's been caught so many times that it's worn all the red off. So that's pretty much the case. So sometimes I fish and sometimes I don't. Again, if you're trying to go for the fish and sometimes you can't get them in stained water, you're having a hard time seeing the lure, you can go with one of the whitish, pocket, pocket crawls or something like that, So, and then if it's clear water, I've caught a couple on the green, pot crawl. So anyway, so anything that looks like a crawfish, looks like a bluegill, things like that. Now look, I had a customer came out here and he was dead set on catching his first frog fish for the year. He wanted to catch his first Texas Lake Fork fish on a frog, and we did it. So we caught a couple on the frog, and look, the frog's a good bite when you're searching for those females, out there in those, bedded areas. A frog is a big chunk of protein. And the females know that, and the males do too, but the males really aren't eating. I think the males might hit it just because they're aggravated, or maybe they're post-spawnish, I don't know, or pre-spawn because they're going in the same areas. But a frog is always a high protein bait in those areas. But just remember, if you're doing this, you got to have the right line. You don't want very many stretch because you're making long casts, so fluorocarbon's pretty good. And you need to have it on a really stiff rod, because if you try to get a hook set on a flimsy rod, again, unless you just reel down all that slack and really get into the backbone of that rod, you're probably not going to be able to get this hook into a bass from a long cast, like with mono, on a rod that's not pretty stiff. So just think about what you're using. There's already a low enough probability for a hook set with a frog. You don't want to increase those chances by basically having your selected gear not be able to give you that hook set that you want. So let's talk about crankbait. So basically a shallow running shad, color, like a threadfin, colored, threadfin colored crankbait. This one runs 3 to 5 feet deep, and just throwing this off the bank back behind us. There's a couple secondary points that have little drop-offs on. They're in these spawning areas. And this has been working and catching some fish. Haven't caught a big one on it, but we've been catching some fish on it. Another bait you can throw up into the grass is just, look one of these kicktail baits. There's all kinds of them out there, but I've been throwing the whitish color. The white and the greens have been getting me in the bites, but again, I'm working this weightless through the grass, very slow, and kind of just working it, hopping it through the grass. So, it's just to give you another opportunity to get a grass fish on there. So another bait that's been catching is basically a chatterbait. But look, the one I've been having the most luck on is the stealth blade. It's got the plastic clear blade on it. Again, I was throwing both for a while, and then I had the jackhammers, and I have this on here, but I don't know which one makes a difference, honestly, but I tend to have gravitated over to the stealth blade. I don't, just because it's just what I just keep feeling better with, or I'm catching more fish, because it's kind of going back and forth. I caught some on the jackhammer, the older ones, and I've caught one on the stealth, so I really don't know whether it's making a difference yet. The colors are kind of in the bluegill colors and the shad colors. And then today I kind of switched up my jig a little bit. I had the big black and blue football head jig on, and I had worked it with one, it wasn't getting as good, so I swapped over to a very large 3/4 ounce. See, it's not a football head, it's not a swim jig, but it'll come through the grass. It's kind of got a pointish on it, and this is like bluegill colors, crawfish colors. And man, as soon as I put this in and started hopping it through, started aggravating that fish, and man, he got on that. He hit it over and over and over again. And that's just an example. Like, I tried the creature bait, and I tried the creature bait in there and couldn't get it. I switched over to the jig. It was a bigger fish, kind of work it more aggressively, and man, he started rolling over that thing right away to get that fish down. So anyway, so look, I'll talk about my trips. I always talk about kind of fun things that are on the trips during the week, and it was really good. So one of the days, really cold and rainy. Had a father, grandfather, and a son, coming out, and just a great time fishing with them. I got to tell you, this young man that was fishing the boat, he was tough as nails. Like, I would have loved to have. I mean, he might make a good Marine someday, because he was cold and wet. He was shivering. He had forgot his raincoat basically at the hotel. They got here and they did their best to kind of keep him dry and keep him warm, but it just wasn't enough. I mean, it was too windy and too rainy. But he was cocooned up with a poncho for a while on the front of my deck, just absolutely covered up so the rain wouldn't get to him. And he came out of that thing, lips were shaking a little bit, but he caught fish and just had a great time. And he did not complain once. And I got to tell you, he was a tough kid. So my hands off to that young man. If you watch the video, you know that I told you then. You seem like you were a pretty tough kid out on the boat. So that's great. And then we caught fish all that day, but pretty much the story for the whole week was bed fishing. Now, this whole week we did not catch a big fish. I've been looking for a big fish this week. I've seen a couple large females. I think the biggest one I saw was just over 8 pounds probably. We had one we were working in the grass. She had come out of the grass by a bed. We had her digging at our lure a couple times, but she only gave us so much. And then she, as the sun got a little brighter, then it was right around that 2:30 time in the afternoon, she started to bury herself back up in the grass. We ended up fishing a bed that was quite near her and caught 2 fish off that. And this very whole time, that female was sitting in the same place in the grass that we could see, kind of buried down in it, and she just really wasn't responding to the lure sets at all. She just kind of would move down lower, and then she'd come back up. But again, it kind of meets what I've been seeing with people. I kind of show you how the process works between, hey, building a bed, and then the female comes, and then they're doing their thing, and then the female kind of hanging out in the same spot, and the male going back and forth to check on her, and her going back and forth to check on him at the nest. It's really interesting if you watch the whole process, and I had a really good chance with some of my customers for them to see exactly what's going on. And quite frankly, the comments from the people are really great, because, you know, they're like, man, Greg, I had no idea there was so much to this process. No idea what it took to help catch these bed fish. So anyway, I've had a great time fishing. And I talked about the other sets I had. You know, had basically a son and a dad come out. Had a great time with them. Had an individual come out. I mean, I've caught fish all week. Just today, we caught a bunch of fish today. I fished with someone who actually lives around the lake. Had a chance to kind of see different techniques. He wanted to kind of see my techniques. I've been watching my social media. And he finished the end of the day. He's like, I had no idea how much there was to this bed fishing. So it's kind of the common technique. And like, you know, I've just learned this over the years. And I'm happy to help teach it to people. And I hope you get a chance to come out and basically give me a call and see if I can help teach you a little bit about bed fishing out here at Lake Fork. So I want to give a couple of discussion items out. So look, we're coming up on this weekend. You know, the Bassmasters Elite's going to be here. What a great thing it's going to be for the lake. I'm seeing the pros all over the lake pre-fishing right now. They're everywhere, and it looks good. I mean, I love it that they're out here. I look forward to the tournament. And, you know, I hope everybody catches a lot of fish. And I want to wish good luck to everyone who's out here for the tournament. You know, please be safe, because Lake Fork's pretty bad about stumps. But I hope you have a great time fishing out here. I hope success to everyone. Even though there's got to be one winner, I hope everybody gets a chance to catch some fish. And I hope they kind of leave Lake Fork thinking, man, I really want to come back to Lake Fork and do more fishing, because I think it's a special place. You know, I've obviously invested a lot of money out here, you know, with my property and fishing and everything. So, you know, it's just a great place, and I hope to share it with as many people. I'm going to talk about my Airbnb. Look, I'm almost full. I only have like 4 days available in May right now. So if you're looking for a place to stay in May, please check those dates to see if it's available. But look, June and July are starting to book up, even July, you know, August. So plan ahead if you would like to come out and stay at my place. Please take a look at my place. Go to my website, www.foblakefork.com, and there's a section on there for my Airbnb. Like, some people told me there's a picture on there. It's got a picture of a dock. That's actually my dock. So a lot of people said, like, we thought that was just an Airbnb. It was such a great picture. I'm like, nope, that's actually my dock. And if you click on it, you'll actually have actual pictures of my place. So please go take a look and look at my Airbnb and see if it works into your family needs. And come out here and fish on Lake Fork. I'd love to have you come out here to the property and stay. I'd love to have you come out and then, you know, let me take you fishing. Look, we got bass fishing going on. We're at the crappie fishing is already getting pretty good. So, you know, look, give me a call and see if we can set something up. You can check my website and basically see the prices and see, you know, what I do and all that type of stuff. So, and leave a deposits and send me an email. You can go there, number one, send me an email and check on the dates that you want, see if they're available. So, look, I guess that's probably about it. I'll give a shout out one last time. So I want to say thank you very much again to Diamond Sports Marine over here in Yantis. I want to say thank you very much to basically Temple Fork Outfitter Rods, Quantum Reels, all those companies that, you know, are basically based on their ambassador staffs or pro staffs for. They help me, and I try to help them because I've used their products for years, and they're people you can count on. So if you need some boat service out here, get with Diamond Sports Marine, Fred over there. If you need rods and reels, you got some question about Quantum or Temple Fork Outfitter rods, please give me a call. I'll happily talk to you about it and tell you why I decided to keep using them. I mean, I had some guys that tell me, like, Greg, if you're gonna be a guide on Lake Fork, you got to get some other kind of reels. You got to go, I don't know, with the other brands, some other big brand names. And I was like, look, I've been using Quantum rods since I was 3. I'm not going to stop using them now just to try to get with a big bass just hit right over here, big explosion. So it's great to be out there on the lake filming this stuff. I'm not gonna start using somebody else's gear, just because it's what they're using. I want to use stuff and talk about stuff I've been using, But I look forward to using other people's gear, so it's great. I love trying new gear. But I mean, look, my quantum rods, my quantum reels, my Temple Fork Outfitter rods, my Skeeter bass boat that I got from basically Diamond Sports Marine. It's quality stuff. So look, if you guys ever have any questions about anything, please give me a call. If you have any ideas or suggestions for fishing reports, I already have some good suggestions from some people that I'm going to work on, so thank you for those suggestions. And look, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can like me on or follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I try to pass information off as best as I can. But look, this is Greg Hill from Forward Operating Base Lake Fork. I am very glad to be able to share this time with you. And look, it's a beautiful sunset going to take place out here. And man, what a great day fishing. So I hope you have a great day fishing also. Y'all take care. I'm about ready to think about throwing that big jig in there. You hit it every time. Mouth on it. There it is. Pounder. Okay, beautiful fish. Get a little imagery with them there. Instead of that, get a couple pictures with them. But he hit it. Took about probably 30 casts to get that guy. So we'll keep working on it and try to find some bigger ones. Hey, thanks. There he is. Guy's blind in one eye. It's a big boy. Oh. All right. blind in one eye though. Get him back in there. Okay. Oh, oh, come on. Oh. All right, man. That's a big male. All right, that was on a jig bite, and got it nice and deep in there. I was only about 10 feet away from this guy. That's coming out big 1 ounce football head, purple, blue, and you know, basically blue and black jig. But man, that's a nice fish right there, baby. Get a good picture of this guy. Coming through there, he's taking a swipe at it. And there he is. All right. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Hello. We're gonna get you. Hold on, hold on. Hold on, hold on. All right, that was the creature bait strikes again. Again, only took about maybe 15, 20 casts to get it. Saw him, you know, I'm only 20 feet away from him. Nice healthy fish. He's been on bed a little while. He's got a little bloodiness on his tail there. So, nice fish. Another Lake Fork bedfish.